Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's talk about something that's been both a badge of honor and, let's be real, a total nightmare for tech folks for ages. Dual booting Windows and Ubuntu. But I've got some amazing news for you. That whole risky pull your hair out process, it's pretty much a thing of the past.
I mean, for ages, this has been the holy grail, right? One machine, two amazing operating systems. You get Windows for all your games, your pro apps, and then you have Linux for all that raw development power. But, and we all know this, trying to get them to play nice on the same hard drive, it's always been incredibly tough, and honestly, it often ended in disaster.
It was a total minefield. You were in there manually wrestling with partition tables, battling bootloaders, trying to figure out all this complex disk encryption. Ugh, one wrong click and poof, your entire system could be gone. It was just so stressful, a task that, most of us just left to the absolute pros.
But that was then. The game has completely changed, and it's all thanks to the fantastic new Ubuntu 25.04 installer. It's taken what used to be a terrifying high-wire act and turned it into this clear, safe, golden path forward. So let's get into it. We're calling this new approach the golden path for a reason. It basically automates all the really hard, really scary parts of the install. What you're left with is a simple, secure process that pretty much anyone can nail. Now, before we even think about touching that new installer, we've got to go through this pre-flight safety check. And I need to be super clear here, these steps are not optional. Seriously, they are the absolute bedrock for making sure this whole thing goes smoothly and without any stress. First things first, and this is the big one, we have to protect our data. And I'm not talking about just dragging your documents folder to a USB stick. We are about to perform surgery on the very structure of your hard drive. That means we need a full, complete clone of your entire Windows installation. Think of it like this. It's the ultimate undo button for this entire project. And what's really cool is that you can build this whole two-part safety net with tools that are already baked right into Windows. So, part one, you create what's called a system image. That's your full backup. Part two, you create a recovery drive. That's the bootable USB stick you'll need to actually use that backup if, things go sideways. All right, next on our list is a sneaky little Windows feature called Fast Startup. Now, it sounds like a good thing, right? Faster startups. But for what we're doing, it's a real troublemaker. See, when Fast Startup is on, Windows never really shuts down completely. It goes into this weird hybrid hibernation mode, and that locks up the hard drive, which can cause all sorts of bizarre problems when you try to boot into Linux. The good news? The fix is super easy. You just got to dive into the old school control panel, head over to Power Options, and uncheck one little box. That's it. This one tiny change, make sure you get a clean shutdown every time, which is exactly what we need for Windows and Ubuntu to be happy neighbors. Okay, this next one is huge. This step solves probably the #1 reason people's installations fail. A ton of new laptops come with a storage setting called Intel RST, or RAID mode. And for what we're trying to do, it's basically a giant brick wall. It makes your hard drive completely invisible to the Ubuntu installer. You boot it up and nothing. Now hold on, you can't just reboot, go into your BIOS, and flip the switch from RST to AHCI. If you do that, it will break your Windows installation. You have to follow this exact safe procedure. First, you use a command to tell Windows to boot into safe mode on the next restart. Then, you reboot, go into the BIOS, and make the change. Windows will boot up safely, load the right driver, and then you just run another command to turn safe mode off. It's this really clever little dance that works like a charm. Now we've arrived at the most critical decision in this entire process. And this is probably the single biggest decision point in the entire process. How we deal with drive encryption, and we're talking about Windows BitLocker here, is going to decide exactly how we proceed from this point on. So here's the deal. All those amazing automatic tools in the new Ubuntu installer, they have one kryptonite. They cannot resize or mess with a hard drive partition that is currently actively encrypted with BitLocker. It just can't do it. So that leaves us with two choices, two paths forward. Path one is our golden path. It's easy, it's automated, and it's what we're focusing on today. Path two is the something else option. A much more complicated manual route for power users who need custom partitions or different file systems. For today, and honestly for 95% of people out there, we are sticking to that beautiful golden path. And what this means is pretty simple.
To use the Easy Installer, to stay on our golden path, you have to temporarily disable BitLocker inside of Windows first. Your PC will start decrypting the drive, and yeah, it might take a few hours depending on your drive size, but don't sweat it. It's a totally safe and completely reversible process.
All right, we're on to the main event, installing with confidence. With all that prep work out of the way, we are finally ready to fire up the installer. And you know what? After all that groundwork, you're going to see that this part is actually the easy part. It's surprisingly simple. Okay, just two last little things before we launch. First, jump back into Windows one last time and use the disk management tool to shrink your C drive. You always want to let Windows resize its own space. It's just safer. Second, you'll need to create your bootable USB stick using a great little tool called Rufus, and pay very close attention to those settings. It has to be GPT and UEFI. That's what makes it work on any modern computer.
Now, let's talk about something that has caused so much confusion for years: secure boot. For the longest time, literally every single guide on the internet told you the first step was to go into your BIOS and turn this thing off. It was just what you did.
Well, guess what? In 2025, the answer is the exact opposite. Leave Secure Boot on. The official Ubuntu installer is now totally signed and works perfectly with it. In fact, turning it off now can actually cause problems, breaking some Windows games and apps that depend on it. So, yeah, leave it on.
And here it is. This is the magic moment. After you boot from the USB stick and click Next a couple of times, you'll see this beautiful, simple option: install Ubuntu alongside Windows Boot Manager. This is the golden path. Selecting this one option tells the installer to do all that complicated heavy lifting for you.
Okay, we are in the home stretch, polishing your new setup. The installation is finished, you've rebooted your machine, and congrats, you've got 2 operating systems. We're pretty much done, but there are just a couple of quick, pro-level tweaks to make the whole experience absolutely perfect.
You're probably going to notice this little quirk almost immediately. You'll be in Ubuntu, then you'll reboot into Windows, and the clock is wrong. What's going on? Well, it happens because Windows and Linux have a basic disagreement on how to interpret the time from the little hardware clock on your motherboard.
Thankfully, there's a really elegant, permanent fix. All you have to do is boot into Windows, open up a command prompt as an administrator, and paste in this one single command. What it does is it tells Windows to read the clock as Universal Time, or UTC, which is the same standard Linux uses. You do that once, and the problem is solved forever.
So, let's just recap. Here it is, your golden path checklist. Everything we just talked about, from the backup all the way to the clock fix. Following these 6 steps takes what used to be a really risky, expert-only job and turns it into something that's clear, well-defined, and totally doable.
And really, that's it. The process is demystified, the path is clear, the door is now wide open for you to go and explore this entire other world of software, development tools, and cool customizations, all while living right next door to the Windows you already know and use. So the only real question left is, now that you have the power of both of these amazing systems at your fingertips, what are you going to create first?